So you So, fraction to decimal, use a calculator, divide numerator divided by denominator. This one comes out to 0.6666667, right? Remember the calculator rounds off the end. Repeating bar notation for repeating decimals. It's a negative fraction, it's a negative decimal. There's a number in front in a mixed number, that number goes in front of the decimal point. Okay, and vice versa. 7/20ths, 0.35, negative. Going the other way, converting decimal to fraction. Again, the whole number part is the whole number part of a mixed number. The decimal part, you use place value, so this becomes 12 over 100, which you should always write as part of your work for this problem. And then you can simplify 12 over 100 to 3 over 25. You can do it in one step or two steps, it doesn't matter. So -7 and 3/25. These problems will all be multiple choice on the test. Number 9, order these from least to greatest. When you order numbers from least to greatest or greatest to least, or you're comparing two numbers, they need to be in the same format. They either have to be fractions with the same denominator, typically, okay, if they're close, that's what you'd have to do, or change them all to decimals, which is certainly the easier method, so that's what we want you to do. Change all of these numbers to their decimal equivalents. 200% is 2. 2 1/5 is 2.2. 2.1 is already a decimal. 2 1/9 is 2.111111. Do not write a repeating bar in this work. That does not help you determine which of these is bigger. If you have a repeating decimal here, write out some of the digits of that decimal. That's how you compare 2 1/9 to 2.1. Which one of those is bigger? 2.1 is 2.10. And 2 1/9 is 2.11. So 1/9 is bigger than 1/10, than 0.1. And then 200% is 2.0. So then figure out, again, looking at place value, which ones are bigger. Then you must rewrite them in the original form that they were given to you. Okay, you can't just leave your answer like this. You'll lose a point just by saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 3, 1. Okay, I get that you put them in order, but your instructions for these problems are always put these numbers in order. That means rewrite those numbers the way you were given the numbers, write them in order. Okay? Questions on that? True or false? 2.85, 4, 3, 9, 2, 9, 8, dot, 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 which continues without ending or repeating, is rational. No, it is not. Rational numbers are decimals that end or decimals that repeat. If they don't end or repeat, they are irrational. So this one is false. Irrational, like pi. Pi is the most famous irrational number. A decimal that never ends, never repeats. Adding and subtracting, the most difficult fraction operations. In fact, problem number 13 is probably one of the hardest ones on the whole study guide. It's a mixed number subtraction that requires renaming. The hardest type of problem. The only easy part of this is that, oh no, it's not even the easy part. You need a common denominator to add and subtract, okay? So the first thing to do is get common denominators. 2 and 3, the common denominator is 6, the smallest number that they both go into. So 1/2 is the same as 3/6. Multiply 2 by 3, so multiply the 1 by 3. 3/6. And 2/3 is equivalent to 4/6. Now I have fractions that are the same denominator. So now I look to do the subtraction. I can subtract the whole number part, 7 minus 2. But if I go to subtract 3/6 minus 4/6, that doesn't work. Yeah, it's negative 1/6, but don't think about it that way. It's too hard. Okay? Instead, if you get yourself in this situation, the safe thing to do, the easiest thing to do, is to convert both of these to improper fractions. And then you can just subtract the numerators and you get 29/6. Yes? Absolutely. There is one of these on the test. Now, you get points for doing the right common denominator. You get points for doing the correct equivalent fractions. All these little steps are worth points. So now you can get to this problem and say, oh, I hate these, I'm not going to do it. You lose 6 points. Okay? Or you can say, okay, well, I know I got to get common denominator. You get 2 points for getting the common denominator and the 2 equivalent fractions. Okay? If you mess this up and you give an answer of 5 1/6, you'll lose 1 point for not doing the renaming piece out of 5. Okay? All the problems on the test are like that, which is why it says to show your work on the test. You'll see boxes on the test that say show your work for full credit. Some of the problems, if you don't show any work, you're going to lose a point. All the problems, if you're worried about getting partial credit, if you get something wrong, you have to show your work. That's how I can give you partial credit, because I can see what things you did correctly. Okay? So the other option here, when you get this 7 3/6 minus 2 4/6, is to rename this first one to make the fraction bigger. Take away 1 from the whole number, make that a 6, and add 6/6 to the fraction part. Add 1 whole to the fraction part. That makes that 9/6. So 6 9/6, that's the same as 7 3/6. Now I can subtract 6 minus 2 is 4, and 9 minus 4 is 5/6. So my answer is 4 5/6. Yes, this is the most difficult problem that there is. Other than, well, I can put in positive and negatives here to make it even harder. But because this one's just straight, like this is a 5th grade, maybe 6th grade mixed number subtraction problem. Number 15. Real world problem. How much longer is a 2.5 inch long piece of string than a 2/5 inch long piece of string? How much longer, how much bigger, how many fewer, how many more? All those questions are asking you for the difference between the two numbers. Those are subtraction questions. How much bigger, how much more, how much less, how much longer, how much shorter between two problems. Those are all subtractions. So 2.5 minus 2/5. Again, I need a common denominator because halves and fifths I can't subtract. They have to be the same size. That common denominator is 10. 1/2 is the same as 5/10. 2/5 is the same as 4/10. These are equivalent fractions with a denominator of 10. 2 minus 0, subtract the whole number parts, is 2. 5/4 minus 5/10 minus 4/10 is 1/10. So 2 1/10 inches. If you do not write inches in your answer, you will lose a half point. Real world problems have words in their answers. Multiply and divide. Number 17, a division of fractions, just like the problem page 331 problems. Keep, change, flip. Change to subtraction, multiplication, flip 3/4 to 4/3. You can cross reduce if you want to. If you don't cross reduce, you get 20 over 24, which you simplify to 5/6. And always watch your positive and negative number rules for division. Negative divided by positive, the answer is negative. And the signs are different, the answer is negative for multiplication and division. Number 19, okay, this is an important one because we haven't done any of these. And in previous years, we've thrown a couple of these into homework earlier, but we just haven't had time to do that much practice this year. Timing has been bad. So a rectangle has two measurements, length and width, okay? So if you are asked to find the perimeter of a rectangle, that's the measurement all the way around the rectangle, right? How far is it all the way around the shape? That's what perimeter is, around the rim of the shape, okay? So that means I need to add up these four sides, an adding problem of fractions. 2 3/4 plus 2 3/4 plus 5 1/5 plus 5 1/5, okay? The easiest thing to do with this problem is to add these common denominator mixed numbers up first. Okay, so you add 2 3/4 and 2 3/4, and you get 4 6/4, which is the same as 5 2/4, because 6/4 is a improper fraction, right? It's the same as 5 2/4 or 5 1/2, right? So these two sides together are 5 1/2. These two sides together are 10 2/5. Then you add these two things together, 5 1/2 plus 10 2/5. You need a common denominator. It's going to be 10 because that's the common denominator for 2 and 5. So 5 5/10 and 10 4/10. Add them together, you get 15 9/10 feet. The other thing you can do with a rectangle is find the area. The area of a rectangle is found by multiplying length times width. Okay, this is a 3rd grade geometry question. These were just 2 and 5, right? Length times width. So in this case, it's 5 1/2 times 2 3/4. You can't multiply mixed numbers, so you convert them to improper fractions and multiply across. If you don't cross reduce on this one, you get very big numbers, kind of painful. All right, 26 times 11. That's, I don't know what that is, 286 or something like that. Divided by 20, it's painful, right? That's why when the numbers are big like this, cross-reducing is a really good strategy. 26 and 4 are both divisible by 2. And at least then it gets it a little more manageable. 14 1/10 square feet. Area is in square feet. Okay, it's a number of squares that covers up the shape. When you have to write square feet on the test, it's already in there for you. You do not have to write it. Okay, so you're going to see one of these on the test. think there's one on the practice test too. Okay, decimals. You guys are using a calculator because some of you are at home taking the test. Last year, this test would have been done mostly without a calculator. Only questions you normally would get a calculator for this unit are converting fractions to decimals in the very beginning. Everything else you would do without a calculator, including these decimal operations questions. But we punted on that this year. Use a calculator. Watch out for your negative number rules, right? Minus a negative is the same as plus. So this one is 17.59 and this one is 48. 14.4 divided by 0.3, right? 0.3 is very small. You divide a number by something really small, the answer is big. There's a lot of 0.3s that go into 14.4. 48 times you can put a 0.3 into a 14.4. And the final question, another one that, so there's another rectangle question in decimals. That's an even one though. Number 25. Another real world problem that gives you multiple fraction operations in the same problem. So they give you a bunch of recipes that take different amounts of sugar. What is the difference between the largest and smallest? So this requires you to identify the largest and smallest. That's one skill that's covered in this unit. Then it requires you to do a subtraction, because what is the difference means to subtract those two fractions. So it's 2 3/4. That's the largest and smallest. Some of you can do 2 minus 3/4 in your head. You get 1 1/4, perfectly fine. Or subtraction, you need a common denominator, so you have to change 2 over 1 to 8/4. 8/4 minus 3/4 is 5/4 or 1 1/4. Don't forget the units in your answer. 1 1/4 cups difference from the least amount to the greatest amount. Next question. What is the average amount of sugar in these 4 recipes? To find the average of a number, also known as, what is the fancy math word for average? Mean. Who said that? Kylie? The mean. Okay, finding the mean of a set of numbers is the same as finding the average. And you do that by adding them all up and dividing by how many there are. So that requires me to add all these 4 mixed numbers together with a common denominator. Now you can add all the whole number parts, right? And then you have the fraction parts left to add together. So you convert all the fractions to common denominator of 12, 9/12, 4/12, and 9/12. Then you add all these together, you get 22/12. So 1 plus 2 plus 1 is 4. And 9/12 plus 4/12 plus 9/12 is 22/12. Can't have an improper fraction inside of a mixed number. So this you change to 1 and 10/12. So this is the same as 5 and 10/12. 10/12 simplifies to 5/6. That's the total, adding up all the 4 different amounts of sugar. The average, you take that total and you divide. Now I have a division of fractions. Okay, so this one problem requires you to do 4 different fraction things, which is why this is a great problem, and you'll see one on the test. Dividing by 4 means multiplying by 1/4. Keep, change, flip. Okay, and you have to change this to an improper fraction because you can't multiply mixed numbers. No cross reducing here, so 35/24 is the answer. Could leave it like that, but 24 goes into 35 one time with 11 left over. So the average amount of sugar here is 1 11/24 cups. You get that, Amanda? Oh, okay. Yeah, you can't tell because I deleted your assignment. Sorry. All right, so that's the study guide odds.